Food is so much a part of the culture of France. And given I live in Paris part of every year, today we're going to talk about my three favorite cooking classes that you could take whether you visit Paris, live in Paris, or if you're wanting to bring a little bit of Paris back home with you into the home where you're currently living, wherever that is. Well, bonjour, everyone. I'm Sharri Harmel, and welcome to another episode of the Extraordinary Women podcast and the Extraordinary Women show. This is the place for women 50 plus who want the inspiration, the ideas, and the community to design, create, and live their best next chapters. And I know that is you. Now, as a woman myself who made the decision to live part-time in Paris in my own next chapter, I can't wait to share with you over the next few weeks a few of my favorite experiences in Paris. Some I'll share over on Instagram, but also some of them I will share on this show. Paris is really the city where I finally reconnected with that girl, that woman who had big dreams. And I want to share some of that with you today. And I'll start with cooking classes. One of my absolute top day cooking experiences is La Cuisine Paris, or La Cuisine Paris, right on the Seine. This is a wonderful option, especially if you're traveling solo. In one of my the Extraordinary Women magazine issues, we highlighted Jane Butch, who is the founder of La Cuisine. It's a fascinating story, so do check it out if you have the time. There is at La Cuisine every kind of class that you'd ever want to experience, and I truly have taken several of them. I started way back when I first was exploring the option of moving to Paris, making it more of my home from a 90 days on, 90 days off time period. And I began by staying in Paris for about a month, and I would schedule a number of La Cuisine classes, and I'll explain to you why to begin with. The one that I use even today was mastering the French sauces. I think it's called mastering the classic French sauces. And sauces are so much a part of the French food culture, and yet misunderstood, I have to say, by most American cooks. I just made one of Stanley Tucci's pasta dishes, which is also a great food show, which required bechamel sauce. And bechamel sauce is often a part of or a foundation in both French and Italian cooking. Bechamel sauce can be traced all the way back to the 17th century. And of course, the debate continues. Who started bechamel sauce? The French claim it was Louis XIV's head chef. The Italians dispute that and claim that they created it, and they believe it was later adopted by French cooks. But cooking is history. Countries as we know them today didn't exist a long time ago. Boundaries shifted and changed, and there were different provinces, different dukes and duchesses that ran particular parts of Europe as we know it today. So cooking truly is history. Where did something come from? Where did something move to? And taking a cooking class in Paris not only, it totally excites that taste sense that you all have, and really envelops you with, the idea of what does cooking really do from a sensual, senses standpoint, I should say, and sensual for that matter. But also it really helps you to understand the rich history of Europe, which is, I always find very, very interesting. But back to La Cuisine Paris, their French bistro lunches class is another class. Now, the French don't call lunch, but that's what it's titled. And that's another class that you can easily bring home with you They also have some holiday classes. So if you want to, really put yourself into some of those pastry options, yummy pastry options, that's another class for you. Years ago, I took a bread making class. Now, I learned bread making really wasn't my thing. I didn't like throwing around the bread and kneading it and all of that, but it truly gave me the opportunity to experience it. And I have to say, it got rid of any internal frustrations I might have had. My absolute favorite, though, of La Cuisine's classes, and I mentioned that I signed up for several of these when I first started coming to Paris, and trying to stay for extended periods of time. I was investigating whether or not I wanted to make this my second home. It was the evening classes. And for those of you who ever travel solo, you know that evenings are sometimes the difficult time of the day. And what's so cool about La Cuisine's evening classes is you really have a whole experience, but you also have dinner with a group of people who I have always found to be interesting, as well as the chef, that makes your evenings something special. Recently, I think the one that I took was on Ile Saint-Louis. It was both the tour and the class, because you go to the island. Now, Ile Saint-Louis is an island that runs right next to Notre Dame Cathedral. And it's an old established area of Paris. And for those of you who know that particular area, it's part of the oldest part, I should say, it's the oldest section of Paris. And it's not a big island. There's two roads that run on either side of the island right along the Seine. And then there's one road that runs through the middle of the island, which is actually called Rue Saint-Louis, which is the street of Saint Louis, if you want to call it that. And down the center of that, or down that main street, are where all the shops are. And so with this La Cuisine Paris tour and dinner, cooking class and dinner, we actually did some shopping as we walked down that street. We went into the cheese shop, which is called the Fromagerie. It's actually wonderful. The butcher shop, you might go to the boucherie. Whatever it might be, your chef will actually take you down that street and point out some of the interesting shops on that street. I found that I wanted to go back after the cooking class a different day, just to re-experience Saint Louis, because it's a wonderful, wonderful island, and so much history. So on this particular, when you sign up for that class, you do a little tour of Ile Saint-Louis, and then you walk back all along the Seine. You walk back to La Cuisine's cooking school, and you start to prepare the dinner. Usually there are multiple courses, just like a normal Parisian dinner. And as you cooking, everyone's got a role, and the wine is usually opened, and after it is all finished, you and your classmates are usually from all over the world. The classes are taught in English, but people are from everywhere, which is really fun. So after you've prepared the meal as a class, you all sit down and share in the lovely French dinner that you've helped prepared. It's truly a wonderful way to end a day. And especially if you're a solo traveler like me, or if you're a couple that wants to do something different, wants to, have a more community feel, it can be very fun. And both times I've had French chefs, and it was just fun to hear their perspective of what's going on in Paris, what's happening in Paris, how they ended up as chefs, and what's the food industry like in Paris. It truly, every time I've done it, I signed up for that particular class, it has been great fun. I just checked out their website, and their French hors d'oeuvre and drinks evening class is next on my list, and maybe yours. They do offer a number of their classes online. They also, La Cuisine Paris also publishes a very fun monthly newsletter. I recommend you sign up for it, because through that newsletter, you will get a little feeling, no matter where you are, that you are in Paris, and you will hear all about what are the events that are happening in Paris, what's going on in that particular month in Paris, far beyond cooking classes. It's great fun. All the information for each of the cooking experiences that I'm talking about today are down in the show notes. Next, and I briefly mentioned French pastries, but let's talk about those absolutely gorgeous as well as delicious French pastries. Now, if you would love to learn more about how to make croissants, macarons, eclairs, and more, Molly Wilkinson is your gal. Molly has written several articles for the Extraordinary Women magazine, and honestly, she is hands down fabulous. Molly's an American gal who made a career pivot. Early in her career, she was in marketing and now lives full-time in France with her fiancé, Francois is his name. Molly is a dynamo. She has one cookbook out. I think she's working on her second. And she founded the amazing Molly J. Wilk. She uses a shortened version of her last name, W-I-L-K, the Molly J. Wilk Online Cooking School. And she founded that during COVID, and it has just mushroomed into something wonderful. She also hosts in-person cooking classes in Versailles. Versailles is not just a town where the Palace of Versailles is. Versailles is actually a lovely town and a very quick ride on the train. You can even take an Uber. Molly has a great kitchen in her apartment. She is not only a highly trained French pastry chef, she's an incredible teacher, but I have to say she is one of the cheeriest, most positive women I have ever had the pleasure to meet. Trust me, you will not only be confidently baking your own croissants after a class with Molly, but you will enjoy laughing along with her as you work through your baking trials and successes. And I know all about trials, baking trials. Just to give you a little idea of the depth of her pastry knowledge, during my Extraordinary Women podcast interview with Molly, I shared that my gougères always ended up flat. These are like little cheese puff pastries that are supposed to, as the word implies, puff up. Mine always end up flat. And, on that particular call, she immediately knew what the problem was and how to fix my future bakes. That's why she's so good. Her knowledge is super deep. She trained at the Cordon Bleu in France and did many different internships in French pastry shops, bakeries, whatnot, both here in France as well as back in the US. So I have to say, no matter whether you sign up for an online class or you want to go see Molly in person, no question, no failed attempt is too embarrassing or too simple to say, Molly, can you help me? Her beginner's pastry course might be a great place to start with, because her online classes, some her in person are a specific time frame, and her online classes are something that you can actually stretch out a little bit more. So, sign up for one. The beginner's pastry class looks fabulous. And if you're in Paris, do book an in-person class with Molly. You will love it. And like I said, Versailles is an easy little excursion and truly a fabulous town to visit. Skip the palace if you've seen that or you don't like crowds. There are loads of little shops in Versailles, and the new hotel, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, Harmel Chateau de Versailles, just opened this last year. I'm going to try to do a video of the hotel for you very soon. It looks absolutely incredible. They have a fantastic spa. They have an Alain Ducasse restaurant where meals were described, don't you love this, by Town and Country magazine as an 18th century-like performance. It sounds like something I want to experience. So spend a few days in Versailles if you can. Take a pastry class with Molly in her Versailles apartment and explore the little village that was the home of many, and certainly the last king and queen of France. And if you have no trips planned, Molly's online classes will bring Paris to wherever you live. How fabulous is that? Now, if you want something totally custom, very private, I highly recommend Veronique Veywall from Cuisine Elegante. And again, that information is all down in the show notes. You can message Veronique on Instagram, or you can go to her website. She has many options, and she will customize her offerings based on your wants. Several years ago, I took my son and 3 grandchildren to her home for a cooking class followed by lunch. And my grandchildren at that time were probably around the age of maybe 8 to 15, something like that. And I have to say, even today, the kids rate it as one of the highlights from the trip. They loved it. Veronique is a French woman who teaches her classes in her beautiful apartment. We're very close to Rue Claire, which is a well-known foodie street in the 7th arrondissement, where truly she takes many of her classes shopping along Rue Claire and then back to her apartment to do the cooking, followed by a beautiful lunch. And I have to say her lunches are always, just a lovely, intimate experience. You're in her dining room, table is set beautifully, windows are open, geraniums are usually on the little balcony outside the window. It's truly unlike any other experience. And that experience that you have actually begins the moment you enter her apartment building, because Veronique's building has one of those very traditional French elevators that goes right up to Veronique's apartment, which is just a light-filled, magical place. Veronique is not only a great teacher and a great cook, but she's she's gorgeous, she's French, and she will truly inspire and welcome any conversation over the lunch or dinner in her dining room following your cooking experience. So it's an experience. I have no other way to describe it. It is a fantastic experience from start to finish. Now, there are lots of other cooking options. I've taken so many cooking classes over the years. The Ritz is fun, but it is formal. It is more about eating than learning, or I should say maybe more about the Ritz experience than it is about learning. The chefs are always French. There is always an English interpreter present, but they don't go into techniques. You're not going to learn anything specific, and usually the chef just starts throwing things in to whatever it is that he is cooking. But it's an interesting experience because you also get to see all of the Ritz hotel kitchens that are all downstairs. And that I found fascinating. I've also taken cooking classes from Patricia Wells, both in Paris, and I'm going to be off to take one in Provence with Patricia at the end of this week. Patricia is fantastic, but unfortunately, she's taking on only a few classes with former students at this point because she and Walter's her husband, have chosen to, kind of slow things down a little bit and reduce their schedule. So, explore. They're out there. There are options, but it all really depends on what it is that you're looking for. If you're looking to learn, or you're looking to community, or you're looking to just have an experience. What I have learned is that cooking classes, when in a new culture that's different from the one you've grown up in, are as much about community as about learning new techniques. And as I've shared today, these are a few of the favorites that I've experienced from the multitude of cooking classes I've taken. And you can, a few that you can also take from your home so you don't actually have to be in Paris. I want to thank you for tuning in today. And I hope you feel even more inspired to make your next chapter one of your best chapters. Now, if you like this episode, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, because that tells both YouTube and the podcast platforms to promote this video. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to our show to hear about more episodes. Remember, start on those next chapter dreams today and watch your life evolve into something extraordinary. A bientôt.